Hey guys, it's Maymay and I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is this video is not a folio. The bad news is this video is not a folio, right? Whichever camp you lay in on that one. This is our 2022 holiday planner. Now, just really quick, I wouldn't normally stop and just talk to you, but really quick, I want to tell you that I'm not a person who uses a planner all year. I've tried, it does not work for me, but I do like a planner for the last 3 months of the year because that's the busiest months of the year for me. So what I do every year is make a holiday planner that'll cover October, November, and December. Now, we've been doing this for many years, so we have a playlist below. If the one I make for you this year is not really your favorite, check out my playlist. There's all kinds of options, and you might like something we've done in the past. Now, this one is going to be made along the lines of a folio and a legal pad holder, like we're mixing them together, okay? So I think you're gonna like it. Oh, why did I have this here? Because we're using the Mix and a Mingle paper pack. It's got a weenie dog on it. It has to be my holiday planner. All right, where does it start? 4 pieces of 8.5 by 11. Let's do some cuts. So we're going to take one piece of our 8.5 by 11 and we're going to start by making all our cuts. So we're putting a legal pad that is replaceable, so we need a pocket for it. That's what we're going to do first. On this page, what I want you to do is I want you to cut it down to 6 3/4 by 8.5. Okay, so this will be the pocket that holds our legal pad. Now with this piece that's left over, I want you to make a cut on it as well. I want you to cut it down to 7 3/4 by 4 1/4. So this will be all we have left over. This is all we're cutting away from those 4 pieces of cardstock, okay? So now that I've got all our cuts done, let's do all our scores. Let's start with these pockets. I know it's strange to start with pockets, but I'm gonna go ahead and get them scored and get that done, and then we'll move on to our pages. So with the pockets, what I need to do is I wanna score it 1/2 inch on 3 sides. But I've told you before, I don't like to struggle in this corner to get 1/2 inch. So here's what I do. I'm gonna come 1/2 inch in from the edge of the paper here, which is 6 1/4. So I'm gonna come in here and score this. Then I'm gonna turn it and I'm gonna score it 8 inches, which is 1/2 inch in. And then I'll turn it and score another 1/2 inch, which is 6 1/4. Now don't worry, all measurements, all cuts, all directions are gonna be in the description below, but I just wanna show you that's how I do my 1/2 inch. Now I wanna take our other pocket and do the same thing, but this pocket's gonna go long ways. So I want to do the sides and the bottom with that same 1/2 inch score. So 7 1/4 here. We're gonna do 3 3/4 here. And then we'll come here and do 7 1/4. Now, I'm a person who likes that 1/2 inch. If you think the 1/2 inch is overkill, you can always trim your paper down to where you have a 1/4 inch gusset. I like a 1/2 inch. I think it gives me a lot of room for adhesive and things like that. All right, I'm gonna move these aside. We're not gonna get rid of our scoreboard just yet. We're gonna go to our other pieces. Let's go ahead and score the main body of this folio. This is gonna be our closure page and everything. So we're gonna go to this one. On this guy, I want you to score it at 2 inches, then at 2 3/4. Then we're gonna come way down here and we're gonna score at 9 3/4 and 10 1/2. I'm going to run back over those lines and make them good and sturdy. One thing, you're going to have a 3/4 inch spine on this guy, and it's going to be a double spine. You'll have a spine on both sides. So that's why this looks like this. But one thing I want to caution you, this piece that is the 2 inch, this is your closure. So when you're building your planner, remember this is the closure, just whenever you're laying it out, okay? All right, our 2 other pieces, a couple more score marks. This guy, super easy. We're gonna score him at 7, and that is all, just at 7. And then our next one, we're gonna score at 6 3/4. So we're coming in just a 1/4 inch on this one, and you'll see why. The assembly requires it, okay? All right, that's all our scoring. Now what we want to do is do all our folding. So I'm just going to go back through. I'm going to fold all these guys and crease on every line, and then we'll get right back together. On our pockets, to save ourselves a little bit of time, I'm going to be installing these with sticky tape. Before I do the folding and creasing, I'm going to go ahead and put my sticky tape on. I'm not too worried about these corners down here. I don't really even need adhesive in these little crossover sections, but I do want it on the long straight parts. And if I go ahead and do this now, I don't really have to cut this later with scissors or anything. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place this onto all of our gussets of these pockets. Now, I've told you in the past that you don't need to use sticky tape on pockets. Now, that only applies when your pockets are not gusseted pockets. When we're just gluing in the three-sided pockets with glue, that is when you don't want to use sticky tape. Here, because they're gusseted, this will never touch any of the papers we're sliding in. This will be hidden behind, so you can do sticky tape on these guys. Now, don't put this too far away. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Now, I'm going to go ahead with these. Actually, before I fold them, let's go ahead and trim too. So, where this guy intersects right here, I want to cut at an angle all the way across, but I want to give myself a little bit of ease. So don't cut above the score lines where they meet. Cut right below those score lines where they meet. So sometimes we cut score lines away, but here I'm kind of leaving them in that corner because they will work to my advantage later. Also, these are not the scissors I should be using. I should be using these guys because they'll clean up better. Now we're going to do that same cut on all of, or both of our pockets. I won't say all. That sounds like we have a lot of them. We just have these two. All right, so we can get rid of our waste there. Now let's fold and crease. Let's assemble this guy so what we're doing will make some sense for you. So remember, this is our closure. I want my closure on the side for this planner that we're making. So what I'm going to do is open this guy up. Now, this is where my legal pad's going to live, but I need to put my extra pages out to the side. Now, when you scored these guys, you're going to have to pay attention to this, okay, because it's a very subtle difference. Remember, we scored one of these guys 1/4 of an inch shorter. The one that is shorter is your last page to install, so we're going to put it aside. This is our full-size piece here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install this on this little strip right here. Now, in the past, I've told you that you'll want to put this strip like this so that from the back it's a smooth piece and you don't have this little lip. But for me, it's so hard to get this glued on top of here exactly. So I'm not going to stress about that because I'm going to be covering it with decorator paper anyway. I'm going to go ahead and put my adhesive on the inside. By the way, you could totally do this with sticky tape, but I'm just going to do wet glue where I can just for time. All right, so I've got that there. And now what I'm gonna do, taking this page with this piece underneath, I'm gonna flip this over like this, okay? I'm gonna lay this piece into this crease where we have our score mark, because this is how I can get it nice and neat. So laying that there, being very picky today, there we go. And then I'm gonna bring this over and glue it in. So this is what I was telling you, because I'm doing it this way, that piece is showing on the back side. I don't really care. That will get covered by paper, by pretty paper. You won't even see it. Once you get that there, go ahead and use your bone folder and burnish that. That really helps to glue it down really well. So you see now we have this piece like this. That's part one. That's the first page inside. You see that? Now I'm doing a little test. I want to make sure this is going to close well, and it is. It's fine. It's tight, but I wanted to use every bit of that piece. If you see yours is too big, if you can't get a pretty good square, you can always adjust this score line. You can always bring it in a little bit if you need to. I'm not. I think I'm going to be fine, but you can if you need to, okay? So now what we want to do is take that other piece we had, and you remember this was the one that was a little bit shorter. Now I'm going to need you to turn it in this rotation, okay? This guy is going to get glued in like a pocket. So where these two guys meet, we're going to do a three-sided pocket here, okay? Now, this one we're going to do with the wet glue because this one's not going to have gusset. So I'm going to run some glue just like this down three sides of this flap, just like so. And then taking that piece, I'm going to show you how I'm going to hold it. This is our score line. I'm going to fold that over, and I'm just going to flip that upside down, making sure this piece is loose over here. And I'm just going to line this up on top of our bottom piece and make that pocket. So just getting it lined up nice and neat. Bring that all the way to the edge and just rub that down. Now you're going to think this is a weird page, and I'm going to show you in a second what it does and why we have it. So we have this pocket now here, okay? This is going to hold receipts and lists and tickets and who knows what all you're going to put in there, whatever you need for the season. And this is going to be a magnet closed pocket. I thought it'd be neat in our planner if we had a pocket that we could really close some things in and keep them secure. So that's what this one's going to do. So you can see here now, this is the basic layout of our planner. Okay, it's going to live much like this. Let's go ahead while this guy's all drying and doing its thing. Let's make the pocket for the legal pad holder. So we've already got it folded and scored. Now let me show you how this is going to live, okay? This is that very first flap. This is our closure, so the very first flat place in our planner. This guy's going to center right in here, okay? Now I want you to notice that there's space on either side. There's space here and there's space here. This space is because you guys love a pen holder. I respect it. I'm going to give you one. We're going to put a pen holder here. This side, I'm thinking I might put tabs on my legal pad, like on the sides, so I could like put categories, gifts or recipes or whatever. I might want to put that there. So I gave myself a little room for that. All right. So let's do our pen holder. Now, I'm doing the pen holder different. I'm kind of going to cheat. Okay. I'm going to use ribbon. So I want to show you this. We need to install our ribbon where our pen will live on the left-hand side. But where that can get confusing is this. To install it, we need to actually install it on the right-hand side when we have it upside down. Does that make sense? So when I flip this over, it lands over here. So this is where we're going to put it. Now, how am I making it? I'm just going to use some ribbon. Now, pick your pen. I don't know, you don't have to pick it ahead of time, but this is the pen that I used as my sample pen. I think it's really cute. It's a gift from a subscriber. And I'm just going to wrap this ribbon around something like this, leaving myself a pretty good tail here, and just sort of eyeball the size I want this to be. Now, don't make it super tight, because when you give this to somebody else, they might like a thicker pen, or they may have a special pen they want. Give it a little bit of wiggle room. It'll be fine, because your pen's going to lay in there. And I know it looks kind of loose and wiggly now, but once it's in the book, it gets a little more stability. So I'm just wrapping this around just enough, okay? And then I'm going to cut this away. I really don't need that much. Let's come back a little bit. I'm going to cut myself this piece. Now here's our piece. What I want to do is I want to lift this backer off of our adhesive just about halfway down, a little more than halfway. Now I'm not going to measure where my pen's going to go. I just want to make sure I put it down low enough that my pen can live in here easy. So I'm going to place this like so. That may be too much pen loop. Let's come back a little bit. Let's go about like that. All right, so the bottom is now stuck in. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my sticky tape. You could use wet glue here, but I'm just going to do sticky tape. It's just easy, and I'm going to lay that over. So that's going to sandwich that first piece in, and I'm going to peel that backer away. Now what I'm going to do is fold that ribbon over into this adhesive, creating our pen loop. And all this is going to hide inside our little folio. Okay, it's going to be hidden behind our legal pad. All right, so removing the rest of our backer, or revealing our adhesive like so. What I want to do real quick before I put this in the book is I want to make sure these bottom corners are overlapping correctly. And by correctly, I mean I need the sides to be on the inside and the bottom to be on the outside. And the reason for that, when you go to slide anything in your legal pad, or if this is a pocket for something else, if you don't lay these in underneath, this can become a stopper, because underneath here, it can stop whatever you're pushing in. So what we want to make sure of is that piece is down and this piece is over, and you can let that sticky tape hold it in place. Now you'll have a nice, clean, smooth transition there for things to slide in, your legal pad in this case. The other thing we need to do, we need to cut this ribbon off where it overlaps. This is an important step, and I learned it the hard way. When I was making my sample folio, or my sample planner, I'm going to say folio because it feels like it. I was making my sample planner, I didn't cut that away, and when I slid my legal pad in, it ripped the whole piece off. So you don't want to do that, okay? You want to make sure you trim that away. All right, let's bring this guy over. Now, like I said, it does not go end to end. It centers in this section. So what I'm going to do is center the bottom where I want it. Something about like that. Doesn't really have to be centered. It can be off to one side a little. And then I'm just going to close the bottom down and then the top. Now, if I have a little bit of a lift, that's good. That gives me a space for that legal pad to slide in easy. And then I'm going to crease this down. Now look how pretty our little pen holder is there, and I'll show you. And this works with a lot of pens, and I'll tell you what I did. When I put mine in, I may have put mine a little low, but it'll be fine. I'll hold the pen. You can put it up a little higher. I went up to Shannon's desk and just tried a whole bunch of pens in the same loop, and a lot of pens fit. So it's pretty generic. The other thing I like about using the ribbon in this placement is if it needs to lift, Can you see how I've got that guts? If it needs to lift, it can, because it's ribbon and it's not a sturdy piece of cardstock. Now for our second pocket, actually our third pocket, because we have this one for the legal pad, this one for our goodies, and this one is going to hold our planner. So it's going to hold our calendar, our gift list, whatever we want to make to go inside here. I'll show you that in a few minutes. So I want you to go back to that piece you already did, okay? And we're going to peel it open just like we did the others. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure that the sides are glued under the bottom. So just lay those in like so. And then this guy does not go the length here either. This is a wide piece. I wanted it wide, but you're going to have a little bit of room on either side. So when you place this in, just center it. You should have about 1/8 of an inch on either side that it does not touch your score line or your spine. The reason for that is when I made the first one, the template, it gave a little bit of resistance there because it was too close when I did it the exact measure. I found it better to come in just a little bit. So that's what we did there. Let's close it up and do a test. I want you to test it the whole time you're going too. That one's going to work fine. Test, test, test as you're closing this up. If you need to make any adjustments, just make them as you go. But you should be fine with those measurements I've given you. Talking about those measurements, they're in the description below. I forgot to tell you that earlier. All right, this pocket that we made here overlaps. Do you see that? And it overlaps a pretty good bit. Let me lay this here. So I'm looking at the top of my mat. This overlaps 1.5 inches, which is good. It gives us plenty of room to put a magnet, and it also makes it super sturdy to put things inside. So I'm just going to use the small magnet. This is the basic gray, and that's a negative. Here's a plus. I'll put that on top of it. Then I'm just going to reveal the sticky off the back. Pokey Tool's getting its money's worth today. I'm getting my money's worth out of this Pokey Tool, I should say. It's doing its job. Okay, so I'm going to stick this. I've got 1.5 inches, and if I want to look up here, I can kind of see where that is, just kind of line it up. I'm going to kind of center it in that space I have available. What I like to do is leave myself, the reason this is 1.5 inches, I like to leave myself about a finger width around those so I can glue them down really good. So I got that down. Let's pick the backer off of this one. Now to seal this up, I'm just going to close my pocket down, okay? So just close that in. That's going to grab our magnet. And you'll see here now, we got close to a finger width there. Not quite as much, but I do like to have a little bit of space. That's just so when I'm putting my decorator paper down, I have a good place to glue it down. It can get a good adhesion. So there's our magnet pocket. There is our pocket for the little booklet we're gonna make. That's coming up. And then this is for our legal pad. Now we need to install our magnet here. Now, I think you're fine to go ahead and install it now. You might wanna wait and install your magnet here after you've put like your legal pad in, you've done some of the paper covering. The only thing you have to be careful of is don't cover the front and don't cover this inside flap. So what you can do to remind yourself, so you don't have to do an implant, if you're going to go ahead and do some paper covering, put an X here to remind you and put an X here. That means I need a magnet, or you could write an M, whatever will remind you. So that way I can go ahead and start putting decorator paper in here to build up some body inside of our planner so that when it's time to push our magnet down, it's not quite so flimsy. See, I think I'm going to wait and do that myself. All right, let's build the little booklet for inside. Breaking in here to ask you to hit that red subscribe button. It's free. Also hit the bell button beside it. You can help me reach my big goal this year of 400,000 subscribers. Okay, back to crafting. So I think in the last clip, I told you I was going to go ahead and build the little planner book that's going to go in this pocket. But I've decided I want to do something else. This is cardstock, and it's not as sturdy as it will be when I cover it with all the decorator paper. I want to see how sturdy it gets, so I'm anxious to do that process. So that's what I'm going to do next, is cover this with decorator paper. Now, I want to tell you this, okay? We will give you measurements and things like that in the description, but I suggest you do this with your own at home when you're doing this part. Measure each page. So, for example, my cover here, okay? It's 7 inches wide. That means I want to cut my layer piece or my decorator piece 1/4 inch smaller, so 6 3/4. Now, why do I cut it 1/4 inch smaller? Because I want 1/8 inch border all the way around. So I know this is 8.5 tall because that's the cardstock we used. So I'm going to cut this side to 8 1/4. So does that make sense? That way I can get that cute little bit of the craft cardstock showing. Now, the reason I want you to put a ruler on at home is because of this. We don't all measure and score exactly the same. So, like, for example, And remember, this page was a little smaller. This page is 6 3/4, so I'm going to go down to 6 1/2, and the same at the top, 8 1/4. So measure each of your pages, because even though you're using my measurements to create it, it doesn't mean you're going to have exactly the same as me anywhere you look, because of how we score and things like that. So enough talking. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run through, cover all the solid, flat places, and we'll just put music to it and let you watch it. let's talk about the cover. I don't want to cover up my weenie dogs very much. That was the reason I used that sheet. I wanted this to have weenie dogs everywhere. If you don't know, I have 4 weenie dogs myself and I love them. So here's what I'm thinking. We're going to go simple for me. Now this is just me. If you would rather go not simple, don't go simple, but I want to because I want to be able to see the background page. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is a sticker from the sticker sheet. I'm going to make a place here to be like a horizon line or a tabletop. I don't care. It's really more of a horizon line because there's several stickers I think will be cute here that won't cover up my weenie dog motif. Try to get that pretty straight. That feels pretty good. I'm gonna cut off the difference here at the bottom. And then when you do this, you can stick this right back onto your sticker sheet so you can use this other piece somewhere else. So I've got my little horizon line, we'll call it. And then I'm gonna get this Santa Claus. That's just me, Santa Claus, he's Santa Claus. I'm gonna put him like he's standing here. I just think this will be cute. I think I'm gonna put him right on top of the line. Put him like this. And I wanna make sure I have room for my next little plan. And let me show you that. So this is a cut apart from the set, and you knew it had to happen. I've got to have this little guy out of here. I think what I'm gonna do is kind of bubble cut him. I was surprised there's not a sticker of him, and if there is, I don't see it. I have looked that thing over, but I'm gonna kind of bubble cut him so he'll kind of mimic the Santa and look like a sticker even though he's not. So I'm just gonna go around, and I'm not cutting him out perfectly. I'm leaving that white border all the way around. And I think this little guy will be cute here as if he was kind of reaching up for Santa. Isn't he adorable right there? I think that's cute. I'm gonna glue him down. I've been feeling these guys out and seeing what I wanted to put here. That's kind of cute. It's kind of cute up here, but I also like this little holly jolly. I think that's kind of cute. I cannot decide. I'm overthinking it. So I really like this cut apart, and I think this would be cute to kind of finish this off. And it does cover up some of the weenie dogs, but not too bad. But it's a little bit large. I'm going to try to bring it in a little bit. I think I can take some of the top off. I also went ahead and cut it as tight as I could to the little letters on the side. And just to make it cute, let's do a little punch on the corner so it'll look like a little sign. Let's do the scallop punch. You know what I may do is just do the scallop punches at the top, at the bottom, and then glue it straight to the top. See, that's cute, right? I like that. Because I wanted to see what's behind it as much as anything else. But this is pretty good. Doesn't take up too much of the cover. A lot of times I'll get heavy on the cover and cover everything up. I don't want to do that this time. Put this guy down. I can put stuff here too, and we'll look and see what we got. Let me get this lined up. I just think this is cute since this is kind of about our holidays. May your days be merry and bright. I think that'll be cute there. Let's see what we want to put here. My original thought was this stamp strip. I think it's so pretty, and I love to use these strips. I think I'm going with it. I like the way it looks, and it brings in all the colors. Isn't that cute? That's cute there. All right, let's trim that off. We'll see if there's a place I can use this inside. I think it's really cute. This little, looks like stamps. I'm gonna put it right here. I think they'll be cute off the pocket. Just for a little something. It'll just kind of peek out instead of putting it back on the sticker sheet. All right, and let's see. Do I want anything else here? Let's look. So my thought is, I don't have another strip sticker, but I thought I could use these little sayings and make one of my own to go up beside here. So joy to the world, the most wonderful time of the year. I'm just going to keep using any of these little guys to fill that up. Trying not to make the same colors everywhere. Let's see what's next. I think I'm going to add these little sayings here too. I love these little saying stickers. I think they add so much. And since this is going to be kind of all of the season, I just think it's kind of cute to kind of add these little words that are in here. Okay, I know it's busy, but I think it's cute. I think that kind of tells you what you can expect to see inside the book. Now, I will caution you, some of these things you might want to use in your little calendar book or inside the book, or even save these for an album you might want to make throughout the year, because they're really cute to be kind of prompts for you, like tree lighting for photos, you know, photo with Santa. You might want to think about that. But that is it. That is my decorations that I'm going to do. You can see on the inside what I did. We'll do a walkthrough in a minute. There's 2 other things we need to do. We need to put in our legal pad, and we need to make our little booklet that's going in here. Let's do the booklet. Okay, now for the part that I really am unsure about. I'm making a little calendar booklet, okay? So I'm going to take this page. I think this will be a cute cover for it, and I'm going to cut it down to 8 1/4. Then I'm going to cut it into 2 pieces. You don't really have to cut it. You can fold it in half if you want. I just think it's going to lay better if I cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it into 6 inches so I can have 2 pieces that are the same. And you can decide if you want to do it that way or not. You'll wait till you see what I'm doing. Okay, now I'm going to take my scoreboard. And just so this will fold easier in the finished product, here's what I want to do first. I want to decide which one is my cover. I think I want this one to be my cover, this little guy. And I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch on the inside, okay? But you guys know I struggle right here doing this, so I'm just gonna turn it around and do 1/2 inch in over here, so at 5 1/2, just because it's easier for me. So that will be my cover, and I've got this little 1/2 inch score. You gotta stick with me on this one. Now this is the back of my book, so what I'm gonna do with it is flip it over and score it here. Or I could let this be the back. Either way I want to, but I like the pattern, the little stamps are so cute to me. So this is the back, and we've got it scored. So our booklet, this will be cover and back, okay? Now, let me show you this. So I had Sylvia make us this little calendar grid, and we'll have this printable for you. I'm gonna have her remove the Merry Christmas. It's good for me. I'm good with having that on all of my holiday planner months, but I'll have this removed and we'll just have lights for everybody in case you don't want the Merry Christmas. But what I've done is I printed off 3 of these, okay? And I'm gonna put this into my trimmer. I actually wanna trim these super close. Now what I'm fixing to do is a tiny bit redundant, and I know that, and you'll see what I mean. But in order to make this fit, because I don't have a 12 by 12 printer, you know what I'm saying? I can't get this to print 6 inches. I have to kind of make that happen myself. So I'm going to trim this down, and then I'm gonna glue it back on to more paper, but you'll see what I mean. All right, so I'm gonna trim around these calendars pretty close. I don't need all that excess, and then we'll build the pages that will hold it. Now I'm also going to be using my holiday planner stamp set. This is perfect for this because the months that I want are already in this set. So I'm going to take out my little stamp, and I'm going to go right up here, and in this little spot I'm going to put in October, and then on the next page I'm going to do November and then December, and I'm going to come back and put all my little numbers in. Now, you don't have to do it this way. This is just what I wanted to do. I love to use my stamps where I can, and I thought this was a good spot. Now, the reason we did not put November, December on these, and we also did not put the numbers, is because you can use this printable for lots of things, okay? So you don't have to use it for Christmas. You can cut this calendar out to the edge, and you'll use this printable over and over again, and you can change the numbers as you want just by using your stamp set. So you can always find a printable calendar online. They're all over the place, but this one is so you can kind of customize it for yourself. You'll notice I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black, just dye ink here. My pigment ink is really kind of heavy for this copy paper, so I didn't want to use pigment ink, so that's why you see me doing that. Now I'll come back and do my numbers later. I want to get this video filmed so I can get it edited and up to you, but I can do that as I use it. All right, so I've got my calendars all laid out. Let's put them in our booklet. Now your booklet may be different than mine. You may need more pages or less pages, but here's how mine works. It's 1 sheet of cardstock that is 8 1/4 by 6, and I'm gonna do that same 1/2 inch score on the corner here, and I'm gonna glue my calendar in. Now if you wanna put in like notes pages and stuff like that, you can add whatever will fit in your pocket. I'm just gonna use this to house my calendar. I wanna use my legal pad for my notes and things like that. So I'm just gonna let this house my calendar, but I do wanna run through and score all these pages so that they will fold really crisp and solid for me. I wanted to say this to you. My mother always she always shopped in cute little boutiques and bookstores and stuff like that. And she always found like those little pocket calendars. If you find a pocket calendar and you don't want to make your own, just use one of those in this pocket, and you can change it out year after year if you like with this little planner situation. But if you don't have one or don't have access to one, this way you can make your own. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put this together. So here's the deal. Your front page is gonna be for you to put notes or another decorated in any way you want to. We'll get to that one. But in here, we're gonna have October, okay? Then I'm gonna have November, and then I'm gonna have December. And the back page, I'll be able to decorate and use as well. Now you're thinking, why aren't you using pretty decorator paper? Because this is gonna be something I don't keep. This is gonna be something that goes away at the end of the year because it's very time specific. So I don't wanna use too much decorator paper on this and kind of waste my paper. I can use that somewhere else. I am gonna give it covers, okay? So like we said, here's our cover and our back. And here's how I'm doing it. I'm stacking this guy up and I'm stapling it. You could poke holes and braid it with ribbon, tie it with string through there or whatever. I just think this will work with my stapler. You got to make sure you don't get it too thick so that your stapler will go through it, but I'm just going to staple it 3 times. And again, this is kind of old school to me, kind of old school crafting. You know, now we have so many tools where we could make these booklets. We could sew them and do all that kind of stuff. But I sometimes just like going back to my roots and making things like we used to make them. And this is kind of an example. All right, I wanted this crease so I could lay it flat to write in it. So you see how I'm going to be able to fold these pages and make this super flat? That's what I wanted. Also, if you want to print on color paper, think about that. I didn't have any. And again, my video is kind of time sensitive. I need to get it out there to you. So I thought you guys are creative enough to figure that part out. So now I'm going to glue these in. So you see what I meant by I had to print them and cut them down and then put them on here because I couldn't get my printer paper this big. That's why. All right, I'm going to go through and glue my calendars in. So I'm gluing to my last page, and as I'm sitting here thinking, I'm thinking back to last year's planner, and we used the Traveler's Notebook. If you have any of those Traveler's Notebook refills, this is a good spot too if you don't want to make this little calendar, although this is turning out really cute. If you don't want to make this little calendar, you can use one of those Traveler's Journal refills. All right, so you can see here, that's December, and then I've got all this space for notes. I've got all this space for notes. Isn't that cool? Here's my front cover. It's really cute. I really like how it turned out. I should have, and I think it's too thick for me to do it, and I can do it if I separate it into pages. Probably should have rounded these corners. Let's do it, because I think it'll go in and out of my pocket easier. So I'm just going to round the corners real quick. Remember, I'm learning this one with you guys. Y'all are like, maybe you should make these ahead of time and then bring them to us. But this is okay. Just splitting the pages and rounding the corners. Well, I got through that. It was kind of a job, but I got through it. No big deal. There we go. All right, so there's my little rounded corners. Think about that ahead of time. Let's put it into our book. This is really getting me excited for the holidays, y'all. The holiday planner means I have things to put on my calendar. You know what I'm saying? And I get excited about it. All right, it's a little thick. And you remember how I told you that you could get caught on those tabs at the back if you're not careful? And mine is at the moment, so let me get it in there. You'll just work it in the first time or two, and it'll all wear in. There we go. It's in there. And trust me, as this gets some wear and tear, everything will slide quicker and easier. So there's that. Let's put our legal pad in. And we have our little pocket here. Remember, you can change this out. What's cool about this is if you run through this legal pad and need another one, you can always do that. So there's that. Let's add a pen. I love these little buffalo check ones. I need to get more of them. So we'll put this little guy in here. All right, you ready for the walkthrough? Here we go. Here's the front cover. When you open it up, you see you have your little legal pad, and I want to talk to you about this. I had considered putting tabs down the side to kind of separate this out for like the different things I'm going to be purchasing. For example, like I usually like to have a place for each of my kids as a couple. So like I would have a tab for Jared and Sam and Thomas and Jenna, et cetera, et cetera. But I was talking about this to Shannon, and she's like, you know, you might want to just use these Post-it note tabs. And she's right. Rather than making them for this and permanently putting them in, if you use the little Post-it note tabs, if you need extra paper, you can adjust them. Okay, so that way, since it's a legal pad, right? So think about that for that, or make tabs. I did leave this blank. I felt like it was getting a little busy in here, and I needed a little bit of not quite so busy in this area, but you can put paper behind here if you'd like to, or cardstock. I just didn't. So there's that page. Here's our little calendar, which I think I turned out really good. I was not sure about it. I was kind of like, I don't know if this is a little too janky, but I gotta be honest, I think it's gonna be perfect for the season. Then this pocket. Now I left this blank because I thought this might be cool for me to use as a calendar in some way. I don't know, but like as a day at a glance kind of thing, I might want to use this for my busiest month. Maybe this becomes December's day in a glance or something like that. Month in a glance, that's what I'm trying to say. And then a pocket for all of the things I want to keep up with. Receipts, that's a big thing for me, is receipts. Or tickets or anything. I put that little ticket in there because I thought that kind of was cute to show the pocket. And then I added little cutesies. Not too many cutesies, okay? I already gave this guy 2 magnets and a pretty good bit of my paper pack, but because I don't feel like I'll use this same one next year, I didn't want to put too much into it. Now, could I? I think I could. I can change this out. I can change this out. And as long as I don't write on here, maybe I laminate this or use it in some other way. I don't think I would laminate it because you don't want to put dry erase. But as long as I don't write in here and just use this for little spots, That's another thing Shannon suggested. Rather than writing in it, she said use those little tabs and make notes and stick in here. Use these like you do, I think they're called deck pages and planners. So maybe if you do that, you could use this one year after year. There's no reason you couldn't, because for the most part, it's interchangeable. Oh, I want to show you the back. I thought that was cute. And there you go, guys. That is our 2022, I cannot even believe it, holiday planner. All the printables will be in the description. Our playlist from all the previous years are in the description. There's no telling what you can find. You may enjoy a different one that I've done in the past, or you might like this one. And remember, it's not a folio, it's a planner, right? No, I love how this turned out. It just made perfect sense that we made our planner like this year. Thanks so much for being here. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. It's free. You just hit that red button. That just lets YouTube know you'd like to see more of my videos in your subscription feed, and you can help me reach my big Christmas goal of 400,000 subscribers. Thanks so much, and until next time, bye now.